Starting. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Reseller Show, episode number 22, and we have a very special guest with us on the Reseller Show this evening. It is Chris. Hi, Chris. Good to see you.
Great to be here.
Yeah, so Andy is off on his holidays. Andy is on a great holiday out in South Africa for the next 2 weeks. So for the next 2 weeks, we've got a couple of guests, and the first one is Chris. Chris from Arbitrage Superstars. So I guess to start off with, who are you, Chris? Quick background story.
Well, I started my Amazon FBA journey back in October 2015. I met Andy. I think it was one of Andy's first events actually that he held in London. Basically, I went along to that course. Was absolutely blown away. Had an amazing day, learning all sorts about FBA and how it's done and everything. Got home that evening. The following day, I woke up and I decided I just had to take action straight away. If I didn't take action, I know I wouldn't have done it. So basically, that very morning, I woke up and I started my online arbitrage. I started researching and sourcing. I think I started off with about £150, something like that. Basically, sent my first order in to Amazon. I think it was about 8. It was only literally 8 things in a box. Sent that in. Started making sales almost immediately, and just fell in love with it really, and sort of been there ever since then. Obviously, we've turned over tens of thousands of pounds since then, and things have grown since then. But like I say, yeah, that's the sort of start of my journey anyway.
Yeah, that's amazing. And Chris joins us this evening. Chris is a part of the Reseller Show community, and I reached out to Chris earlier on and I said, look, Chris, are you interested in coming on? He's been a real active participant in the community. You do amazing work helping loads of people, and it was just a no-brainer to bring you on, Chris. So today it's a real pleasure for me to bring somebody onto the show that is a part of the community, because that's what the Reseller Show is all about. I know when myself and Andy were talking, do we create some type of Reseller Show? And the idea was always going to be, can we bring some special guests in? Can we bring some people in from the community because we're on this journey together. Everybody's got the same destination to ultimately build their online business for freedom, whatever definition of that success is for you. So it's a real pleasure to have you here, Chris. And tonight I'm really, really looking forward to just seeing where the conversation goes. I'm just going to make sure that we are live. If you can see us in the chat, there's a couple of people watching, I believe, which is awesome. But how's the week been so far for you then, Chris?
Not too bad this week. To be honest, this weekend, sales-wise, this weekend has been quite strong for me this weekend. But we're working on our replenishables right now. So basically, we're looking at lines that we sort of sell out of almost instantly. But that's something that we're trying to sort of get really smart with. So sort of bringing those on really, and they've been selling quite well this weekend. So yeah.
Yeah, replenishing is super important. But so I think what we'll do, we'll just touch on a little bit of news that I come across just before the show. I think I saw those Simon in the chat. Good to see you. Good to see you, Simon. I hope you're doing well. I hope your week has started really well. If you got any questions whatsoever, any topics that you want me and Chris to discuss, please do fire them in. This is just a laid-back, casual show, really. So one bit of news that I wanted to share with you guys, which I found stunning. I said this to Chris just before we went live, and this was a stunning statistic that said only 3% of millennials don't use Amazon. Only 3% don't use Amazon. That's a staggering statistic. What do you think about that, Chris?
It is staggering. I mean, I think obviously, like people my parents' age, Like my dad uses eBay, and he actually sells on eBay, but he doesn't order anything online at all. So even though he uses it to sell, he doesn't actually purchase anything on. He doesn't purchase anything online. He's worried about security and that kind of thing, and I think a lot of the older generations are. It doesn't surprise me that to be honest, that the 3% doesn't really surprise me. Everybody's walking around with a smartphone these days. You've got things like Alexa, for sort of voice activation and all those kinds of things. And I think that's probably the way it'll continue to go.
Definitely.
As technology goes and sort of builds, it's voice activation is probably where it's at. And like you say, youngsters probably are more tech savvy. In one of my previous jobs, I actually worked in a school, and what the kids could do on computers and stuff was, it was incredible. So yeah.
I mean, there's no surprise at all. Only 3%. I mean, 3%. When you're talking how many people are about, it's a stunning amount of people that are using Amazon now. But it's not to any surprise, like you just mentioned there. I think the older generation that got introduced to the internet and Amazon and putting their credit card details in, putting personal information in, it is a little bit scary. It's a little bit different. Like, oh, what's happening with my information? But I think, the newer generation, they're growing up with this, like you say. Yeah, they're literally just grow. It's just a part of life. Like my daughter is 4 years old and she talks to Alexa. Do you see what I mean? By the time she's our age or in their 20s, I mean, it's just a part of culture. So just an interesting statistic there. And this article, now I'll put in the show notes. I'm just going to quickly read a little bit of it because I thought it was incredible. I think 1 second here. I think it said something like, we're only at, let me get this right, we're only at about 60%. Millennials will make 60% of their purchases online this year. Okay, so we've not even scratched the surface, to be honest. We've not even scratched the surface, which it was up from 60% this year, and it was 47% in 2017. So you think next year it's going to be, I don't know, 70%, 75%. We've got millions upon millions of people still coming online. So I think we're in the perfect position to be in selling online, definitely.
Yeah, and I think Amazon haven't even, they're not even at the top of the mountain yet. I think they're still building. They keep bringing in new marketplaces. They keep going into different countries. So I think that the opportunities. And I don't know. I think maybe it might get easier over time. Maybe they might sort of change the way in which their fulfillment centers work, and perhaps it's just going to make things easier to sort of sell in multiple countries or something. Perhaps.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I think we've just touched that on the last couple of weeks. I think that's where Amazon's going. They're going global, aren't they? So I mean, it's going to be so easy for anybody to sell anywhere in the world and get your products to anywhere in the world. So, I mean, it's staggering. I don't think we've got anywhere near the peak yet. I think there's more and more people going to be coming in. I know for me personally, starting my own personal journey back in 2015, every year has been bigger and bigger and bigger. And that becomes, and especially when you've got things like Prime Day, when Amazon have their Prime Day, and I mean, how many people do they get signed up for Prime Day? You've got maybe another 10,000 people plus, God knows how many, millions, just to come back onto Prime or start using Prime. And then once you're a Prime user, I don't think you come out. I don't think you come off. I've been a Prime user for the last sort of 4 years now, and I've never left the membership, which is staggering. So, but yeah, good to see you guys. I think there's Jonathan in the chat. Great to see you guys. Andy, he says, great to see Chris on the Reseller Show. Awesome. Well, you guys, if you've got any questions, if you've got any topics that you want Chris's opinion on, that's what Chris is on the show on this evening. It's great to have him here. It's great to have a member of the community on the show. And yeah, really, really looking forward to it. So how's everyone's week been? How's everyone's week been in the chat? Let us know. So yeah, what are we talking about now then, Chris? Where are we heading now?
I've been looking at helium-10 actually as an alternative. I say an alternative to Keeper. I mean, Keeper is fantastic. I have had a bit of a play with helium-10 though. In my opinion, it's not as good as Keeper. I don't know what it is about it. Maybe it's just a familiarity type thing. Maybe Keeper is just too familiar. I know it's like a free, because there's like you can get like a free version of helium-10. But like I say, to be honest, I'm going to stick with Keeper.
I mean, Keeper is for me, it's absolutely staggering the amount of information that we can get from Keeper. And I think I said this the day that they made it a paid service. I think it going into a paid service is actually good news. I actually think that the fact that they've now got some revenue with the amount of money I'm sure that they're getting every month now, all that means is hopefully some development. It means more information. It means like, what else can we graph? Well, you know, what other data can we have? So I wouldn't be surprised if over the next 6 months, you know, we get some amazing updates with Keeper. But in terms of helium-10, I've not got any experience with it simply because I've just focused on Keeper over the years, and more recently, obviously, Buybot Pro. But I think it'd be a great little conversation to have, really, in terms of tools. I think tools is an important thing. I remember for me when I first started back in 2015, Chris. There was Keeper and there was Camel. But for me, I was like doing a lot of copy and pastes. I was trying to figure this out. There was no Buybot Pro, you know, there was no FBA multi-tool. It was crazy. So what are some of the biggest tools that you would recommend then, Chris?
Right now, some of my favorite tools, Buybot Pro, definitely Buybot Pro. I mean, Matt and Karen Karen is just so hands-on. She's constantly say, you know, in the Buybot Pro group, she's sort of saying, you know, we bring up this update, bring up that update, and it's just getting better and better all the time. Other tools, like I say, Keeper. I definitely use Keeper. You know, that's essential to anyone. You know, when I first started, I'd actually go out and I'd do RA, and I'd look at the sales rank, and I would take that sales rank as read. You know, that's what it is. But little did I know, the mistake I was making was I was seeing a sales rank of like 44,000 in toys, thinking, oh, that's great. And then what I was realizing later down the line was that actually that toy is something like 100,000 average. So I was making that mistake. Whereas obviously Keeper tells you, you know, your 90-day average on this is what you know, and that's such an important metric. It's just so important. So I mean, Keeper is 100%. You've got to have Keeper. Other tools, I use a sourcing service. I haven't got any keys at the moment. That's something I'm looking to build into this year. So to get my own sourcing team together. What other tools have I used? Back in the day, I was using the FBA Wizard calculator. I actually remember that when it first came out. I don't know if you ever remember, Kev, but do you remember the old Amazon, the on-page calculator that Amazon have? Where you put your rating in.
No.
No, so you go on. I forgot what the URL is, but basically you go to this like site, it's an Amazon run like fee calculator. And
Oh,
basically,
yeah, of course, yeah.
You put your ASIN in, and it tells you. But that was so clunky, you know. It was like copy and paste. Go onto that. Go on to this calculator. What's the fees? It was all over the place. Whereas when FBA Wizard, the fee calculator come out, it was like, wow, it calculates on the page. You know, it's like, right, okay, this is. I'm getting back some time. It was the time efficiency. And like I say, then we started seeing things like software tools and that. FBA Wizard started to come online. Source Mogul and all the sort of sourcing tools started coming online. I actually remember. I think it was early 2016, and I found OA X-ray. I don't know if we've got any.
I had a trial of OA X-ray because I tried doing online arbitrage in the US simultaneously.
Oh,
that's another story. Yeah.
So. Yeah. Basically, I remember I sat there with my wife one night and I said, there's got to be a better way of doing this. This is crazy. This copy and paste. This is just nuts. There's got to be a better way of doing this. So I went online. I found this OA X-ray, and at the time, it was only supported in the US. I don't think there was any UK support at all. It was just US. And I said, I wonder if we could make a tool or get a tool that will actually do this, you know, that we can make, and it'll do it for us. I was in touch with a developer, and this guy was going to basically make me a UK version of OA X-ray, and I was telling him all what I wanted and everything. But unfortunately, he had to come out of the project for personal reasons or whatever, and it never got pursued. But I kind of wish it had worked out, because I'd probably be up there as one of the founders of some sorting software now.
I mean, just to touch on a couple of things that you mentioned there, I think if anybody was watching this and maybe not experienced, I know us guys watching this week on week, we've been in the game a couple of years at this point, but in terms of seller's rank, it's so important. I think the issue that you had, or the mistake, or the lesson learned that you had right at the beginning, where you were just looking at a seller's rank and going, that's 20,000, or that's 44,000, I'll buy it. I think there's some misinformation out there somewhere in the cloud where some people think just because it's under 100,000, that's like oh yes, let's go buy it. But you got to remember, the best way I like to describe what a sales rank is, it's just basically it's a moment in time. That's all. The figure that you see is just a moment in time. Like, that is where that product happens to be ranked at this particular moment. But that doesn't say anything to do with, in 10 minutes from now or 10 minutes previously. So you've got to look over the big range. So you've got to look over a month. You've got to look over 3 months. And Keeper, like you said, gives you that average. So you can see if there's, first of all, you can see the graph. And then you can actually see like a figure in terms of average. So I think that's absolutely key to understand that, like, people can make a lot of wrong purchasing buys just because they may look at this product and go, oh, I'm buying 10 of these just because it's ranked 44,000 or something. So I think you made a good point there. I think it's a really valuable thing to share. But yeah, I'd have to agree in terms of BuyBot Pro. I think BuyBot Pro is, without a doubt, one of the best tools that have been made available over the recent years. I know for me, when I was just starting out, it was just to do with time. Just like you just said there, Chris. It was all to do with time. I was like, how fast can I search? How fast can I source? How fast can I know whether this product's a winner or not? So I was doing everything I possibly could. As many Chrome extensions as I could find. So I had, obviously, there was a Keeper Chrome extension. There was Amazon DS Quick View. That's a good one. Amazonian right-click search, where you can highlight and then right-click, and it will search directly on Amazon. Anything to speed up that time. And then BuyBot Pro, with a click of a button, and it just like gives you all this information. I mean, it's stunning. It's a work of art, definitely. Highly recommend, definitely.
And
But yeah,
they've actually introduced their own. It's got its own graph now as well. So I don't know exactly how it does it, but basically it's like the Buybot Pro's got its own like chart, like its own kind of version of a keeper chart. Then, so that gives you a bit of an idea and a bit of indication as to what's going on. I think it gives you a sales rank, a price, and an FBA, a new price and an FBA price.
yeah,
so you know,
I think it's
in for free for your monthly subscription.
Yeah, I mean, I think you know what it's like. Do you know when you? I know for me when I was sourcing, sort of like it was 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning. It's starting to get a little bit tiring. You know, a Buybot Pro just prevents you making any silly mistakes. So I highly agree with you there. But yeah, I mean, I'd love to hear some of your guys' comments in the chat with some of your best recommendations in tools. But wow, yeah, we've got a couple of questions here. Got Jonathan here. I sell on eBay alongside Amazon FBA, but I haven't yet experimented with merchant fulfilled. Any advice? Have you had any experience with merchant fulfilled, Chris?
I haven't actually. No, it's something which I've always thought would be too sort of time consuming. But I'm sitting. This is my office, but it's actually a garage conversion, and this is something that we did back towards the end of last year. So basically, I could potentially now, if I got the right area set up, I could potentially do some MF stuff. It's something I've been tempted to do on high profit items. Definitely something I'd consider doing. But it's that time versus income.
Yeah.
That's what we've got to sort of weigh up, really.
Yeah, I mean, my experience on it is I did a lot of merchant fulfilled right at the beginning, and just exactly what you just said there, Chris. I was selling these. God, what were they? They were like these travel travel cases where it had like razors and stuff in. So I couldn't sell it FBA. It was hazmat, but I was making something like £10 per unit, selling it by merchant fulfilled. So I was selling them, and then eventually they ran out of stock. I couldn't get them anymore, and then it sort of FBA is just much more scalable. Obviously, much more. You know, you spend your time sending hundreds of units instead of just maybe the one at the post office. Having said that, Jonathan, one of our projects this year is to do merchant fulfilled, and we've got a shelf out in the warehouse now. And I think it's what you've just said there, Chris. I think you've hit the nail on the head. I think it's a bit of a balance between time, the profit that you're making, and can you potentially use the existing resources that you have. So for me, with the girls in the warehouse and Steve now, very much like the head figure and pushing all these projects through, just because I just not had the time to do everything that I wanted to do. This is, you need to bring people on to help you. But one of the things that we've got a library. I'm talking hundreds upon thousands of products over the years that we've not purchased, that we've not sold, simply because maybe because they're just hazmat. And the hazmat, and you walk away and you're just like, do you know what, move on, next product. But the truth is now, the whole team the team are going through a huge library now to get a shelf full in here, because in terms of merchant fulfilled, we have like Royal Mail coming here every day. We've got all the delivery, we've got all the delivery companies that come here every day. So it makes sense. It makes absolute sense just to leverage the resources that you've got available already. I think that's probably what I would say. Leverage the resources that you have.
I think if you could get it to a point where it's well systemized, like you say, and you can literally just chuck it in a poly bag or something, stick a label on it, sort of thing, and ship it out the door. It's got to be, and especially if you make money on it. Like I think there's deodorants, that kind of thing. And some of the money on some deodorants is it's unbelievable. You know,
Oh, I
you can make
know.
good money on them. You know, and so yeah, if you're making 5-6 quid a unit, you know, you can
Exactly.
manage.
And a part of one of the things that Amazon have done over the last year or so, I can't remember when they first brought it out, but they obviously do seller fulfilled Prime now.
Yeah,
So which we've got ourselves, we're applying for it right now, and a part of becoming a seller fulfilled Prime, you've got to meet some criteria. You've got to go on a trial first, right? So you've got to let me get this right. You've got to one have a Royal Mail business account where basically you can prove that you're going to be able to, you've got a business account, you're going to get those products shipped out straight away. You're going to be able to ship, I think it's within 24 hours. It's like Prime. It's like super quick.
yeah.
You've got to get your products out. And you're on a trial. Like, it's not something that you
Okay.
get enrolled and then you're done. You've got to go on a trial for, I don't know what the period of time is because I've not heard anything back, because we want to get that seller fulfilled badge on our other account so we can start shipping from the warehouse. But you have I think it's like a 2-week trial or something, or I don't know how long the trial is. But basically, at the end of the trial, Amazon assess you to see what your rate of performance has been, and if you've passed, they give you the Prime tick. If you haven't, then obviously you don't. But I guess another conversation to have here, Jonathan, is the pros and cons to doing seller fulfilled. So one con that I can see is if something happens with the product, if it goes missing, for example, you can't just blame Amazon FBA, for example. So can you think of any cons or pros and cons about merchant fulfilled, Chris?
Like I said, really, I think the biggest con, like you say, is your time. So, you know, rather than just sticking stuff in a box, one label and off it goes, obviously your time is going to be, you know, you're going to be wanting to make sure that, like I say, your profits are really good. Like you say, the pros are definitely you're able to sell your hazmat stuff. You're able to sell deodorants and stuff. There's been times I've been doing a little bit of RA in places like Boots at the clearance aisle, thinking, oh, you know, wow, there's going to be some money in this. And then the next thing you scan it in and it comes up with a dreaded hazmat. And it's like, forget that one, walk away. You know, like say if you had a system in place where you can get this stuff out quite quickly, coming back to what I was saying about this room here, we've worked out that there's a post office just about a mile down the road from us. It's in the back of a spa, and it's open 7 days a week, and it's open till 10 o'clock at night. And I was thinking, okay, well, this might work, because if I could get orders in for the day, get them prepped, stick labels on them, go down the post office and just drop them off, that might work. You know, it's for me, that my biggest thing for me is my time, and like you say, is being time efficient. So,
But in your case there, I think that is definitely something to consider. I mean, obviously at the minute you're trying to juggle a lot of things, and time is so important.
Yeah.
But I would have to, if anybody's interested in doing any type of merchant fulfilled, have a look to see where you can leverage the things that you're already doing. So in my case, the girls are here already. It makes no, you know, me and Steve were talking about it. Like when you log into Seller Central, you see your FBA sales and you see your merchant, merchant fulfilled sales. And, you know, forever it's been sort of zero, no sales, merchant fulfilled. But the girls, they're logging in every day. So when they open the account, if they've got an order there, it's so easy just to, I remember it, the process is so easy. Like you click on the order, you go through to your labels and you print out the label, you stick it on the product, and away it goes. So, I mean, in your case, if you do have a spa around the post office around you, then one day in the next 12 months, that's definitely a project potentially for you in terms of growth. So I'd love to know how you get on there, Jonathan. Do keep us posted on that. We've got Simon here. Simon says, regarding OA, how far can you push your luck on the amount of items you order and how often? For example, I've ordered 10 to 12 items from Boots or Disney, or Disney for with no problem. Do you go for more? So this is a quantity question, Chris. What are your thoughts on quantities?
Right. So I order a lot from Boots. Boots are generally okay, like you say, if you're ordering your sort of 10 to 12. I think we pushed it once. We went up to about 20. I think we ordered about 20 units once, and they did not like that. It was cancelled straight away. We had the email, no, cancelled. So I got to be honest. I know it's annoying, but I would continue to go for the sort of 10 to 12 and just know that you can get them through. What you can do, you can order like every day. So I know this sounds mad, but if you order like 10 today and you order another 10 tomorrow, they'll be okay with that. I don't know why. It's just they seem to be okay with that, and they'll carry on. But like I say, yeah, I wouldn't push it with Boots. I know they are particularly fussy about their quantities.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you gotta be careful with your quantities. I know for us, over like for example, when you've got a store that has a limit on how many you can purchase, that's a little bit frustrating in itself. But you do got to be careful. Like at the end of the day, stores they are they're in the business to sell to customers. They're not a business to business. So and to be honest with you, I've never really understood this mentality. I think I can understand it, because at the end of the day, for me, I'm thinking to myself, God, if somebody wants to buy 20 or 30 or 40, like why can't you just let them buy that amount? Like if you think about it, throughout their operation, if you had X amount of people like us as a community, online arbitrage sellers, we must be. I would love to know the statistics on how much we contribute to the sales of these stores. But surely, even us, we're treading a little bit lightly, a little bit. Like if we wanted to order more, why can't we just order more? So they could all just like increase profits. I'm sure they could. But yeah, you got to be careful. You got to be careful. As soon as you get a product, an order that's cancelled, then obviously you're going to have to take note and then lower your quantity a bit. Boots have been very, very funny with us over the years. Toys R Us, before they started cancelling orders. I don't know why. Probably why they're not here anymore.
To be honest, I think that's something that's exactly why they probably are not here anymore. It's some of these retailers. It's bonkers. I say care, but I don't understand it. At the end of the day, obviously they've got their margin, and if they're getting what they want for the product, I don't understand why they just won't sell it to people. I did hear a while ago that Argos were doing the same sort of thing, or there were some Argos stores that were cancelling orders over a certain quantity. But I haven't had the problem. Generally, again, an Argos is only sort of up the road from us. So what we generally do is order in store, and we sort of just go and sort of pick them up and bring them back and prep them here. But like I say, I know that there have been people that have had Argos orders cancelled. So, but like I say,
I think people are frightened. I think these bigger companies, they're obviously taking note of the likes of Amazon, and they are frightened in terms of. I know when I was at the spring fair, there was a lot of suppliers there that were saying we definitely strict how many people are selling on Amazon our products just to try to protect the brand. There was one. I think there was one company that we spoke to, and they said, "Oh no, we don't even sell online." I was like, "Well, you don't sell online? Like, what's the matter with you? You're not going to be about in the next 10 years. Like, you've got to go online." So that I was a bit perplexed with that, but so I think the bigger picture on this, I think people want to protect their long-term products, their brands. They don't want to devalue the brands. Like, let's say for example, Apple. Apple's a great example of this. They definitely control the price throughout the brand, throughout the entire world. Like, you can't sell specific Apple items unless you get the authorization from Apple. Like they fix that price, and I think that's pretty much what people are trying to get at. I think they're like, right, if you go onto Amazon where there's a marketplace where you've got maybe 20 sellers, as soon as you've got more than one seller, it starts the competition process where if everybody's on the same path, if me, you, Chris, and Jonathan, and Andy, and Simon, and Sean, and all you guys that are here right now, if all us on the same wavelength, where there's 10 of us, and we all share the buy box, then everybody wins. The problem the problem that you've got is once you get more than one seller, it starts to the possibility of somebody saying, I'm going to drop my price, or I'm going to drop this price, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do whatever the situation is in the business. That, like, for example, that's why stores have clearance sales all the time. That's why Tesco or Argos or Disney or whatever, they have clearance times where, you know, they've got to the end of line or something, they put clearance on. And that's what stores can do on Amazon as well. I know for us, if, for example, our infantry health, if we've got, like, once upon a time, long-term storage fees. As soon as you've got that coming up, you want rid of your product, so you're willing to drop your price. So that's the problem when you've got a marketplace where there's multiple sellers all competing. But yeah, that's a whole conversation. I think we had a full reseller show just talking about the buy box. Everybody, please share the buy box.
Absolutely.
Here we go. Simon, I bought some hazmat products by mistake. Thought I'd take them back to the supplier, but decided MF them for the week to see what happened, and they sold like wildfire. Oh, I think it's a huge side of this business that not many people do right now. You think there's a lot of people. Whenever there's a barrier in place, people say no. Like exactly what you just said in this show right now, Chris. Like, one of the reasons why it's not really feasible for you to push merchant fulfilled massively right now is simply because of your time, right? And that's the case for a lot of sellers. Like, the reality is, fulfillment by Amazon gives you, if you've only got 3 hours window in the day, what are you going to do? Are you going to spend your time shipping maybe 5 units merchant fulfilled, or shipping 200 units in a box that's going to sell a little bit later on? Do you see what I mean? So that opens up a whole new opportunity of so many hazardous materials or items you can't sell through FBA, that if you make them available, the demand is there just like any other FBA product. And you can see that there's no difference in terms of the analysis other than it's hazmat. So I'm not surprised there at all, Simon, that you experienced them selling like wildfire. Because I remember, like I said, when I put that merchant fulfilled item back in the day, I think I was getting them from Boots as well. Selling, like, I couldn't get enough of them. They're just selling out. It's amazing. How fast did you get them posted, Simon? The next day. Great stuff. Always going to be competition. Love it when I find that one product that nobody sells. Then along comes the seller, Amazon.co.uk. Oh, that's gutting. So that's a good question then. It's a good question for you then, Chris. What do you do when you're selling an item and Amazon come in? What's your thought process around that?
I generally I go back and have a look at Keeper and basically see what's going on there. So, like, have Amazon been in stock before, and have they gone out of stock before? If there's a bit of a pattern there, and I'm thinking, well, chances are, 6 months ago they went out of stock for a month, and if that's the case, then the chances are, it's going to repeat itself, and at some point they're going to be out of stock again. So if that's the case, I will hold my price, and I'll just sort of ride it out for a bit, for a month or so, see how it goes, just keep an eye on it, keep monitoring it. it would all depend then on what happens after that. If I felt that no, this isn't going anywhere, and Amazon are way too low for me to even come near that price, I'd be making a loss. Then I would probably look at selling it on a different platform, whether that be eBay, or some, or even if I just get them sent back to me and put them on Facebook Marketplace or something like that. That's probably how I would go about it. It is annoying when it happens. To be honest, as a general rule, I don't go up against Amazon hardly. If Amazon are on the listing when I'm sourcing, I hardly ever go on the listing, other than if I can basically smash their price. To give an example, going back Christmas before last, so what's that, December 17, I found some electric shavers in Tesco's, and it was like November time, and it was before Black Friday, and basically these shavers were 15. I would pick them up for £15, and they were selling on Amazon for something like $39.99, and my margin was incredible. And I knew even if I had to match Amazon's price and come right down, I could still make a fortune out of it. So basically, that's what I did. I thought, well, I can buy these. I know I can sell them. I know I can beat Amazon's price if I had to. So I got them, and they all, so I think on the Black Friday, they all literally flew out the door. And I had 15, 20 of them, I think. And they all, I had more, but there you go. It was one of those moments.
Well, don't you just love that when you're like, wow, they've all sold? Yeah. Like, that's amazing. I remember this is going back to when I literally first started. The first month that I started, I was selling these 20-pack of Shopkins, and they were like, it was season 2 I think it's like season 5 or 6 or something stupid now, but season 2 at the time, and I couldn't get enough of them. They were just selling, because Shopkins is super, it's just super popular, like all #1 bestsellers and things. But the fact that there were #1 bestsellers, one day I think I went to Argos and I got a season 3, and it was like a brand new season 3. It wasn't even on Argos, it wasn't even on Amazon, sorry. And so what I did was I actually created the listing, and this is the only time I've ever really created a listing, because I think you're talking something different now when you're creating listings. But for me, I was like just a bit of a novice at this moment in time, just really think I was just working this out. But what I did recognize was that, hang on a minute, Shopkins, it doesn't matter what Shopkins is on Amazon, it's all #1 bestsellers. So this brand new season 3 20-pack, if I can make that available, so what I did, I took photos. I purchased a light tent from Amazon, took photos of it, got them up. I got 10 items up. They sold within about half an hour. I'm not even kidding you. It literally, I've still got the screenshot. I've got the screenshot, which I used to put on my wall, of this listing that was, I can't remember what the badge was. It wasn't #1 bestseller, but it was like #1 best newcomer or something. It came with the badge, and nice. I couldn't get enough of them. I'd put 10 in, and they'd sell within an hour. I'd literally refresh my Seller Central, and just like huge spikes. It was incredible. What was we talking about? Amazon. That's right. Amazon on the listing. So yeah, Amazon on the listing. So what do we do? I think you covered it really well there, Chris. I think we tend to avoid competing with Amazon. Simply like looking on Keeper, obviously you can see the history of what Amazon have been doing. If there's a scenario where there's been no history of Amazon at all, and then you decide to sell that product because it's a winner for you, and then Amazon come in, that's just really, really unlucky. Really unlucky. That's like, one of the things that we look out for is obviously the history of the product. And if you can see Amazon in and out, and you can see there's a history of that, then, it should come to no surprise that if you start selling it, Amazon then come on the listing. But if there's been no history whatsoever, and Amazon just come in and they destroy your price and they dip right down and you can't even compete, then unfortunately it's one of those scenarios where you take the rough with the smooth. Like, that's just one of those scenarios where it's like, crap. So what do you do at that point? There's a number of things you can do. Like Chris said, you can ride it out. You can ride it out to see whether you can compete with them, or they go out of stock or whatever. And then you've got to come to them, because Amazon can stay in stock for years. Like, they've got thousands upon thousands of units. So you've then got to make a choice. Do you withdraw them altogether? Can you work out what your margin would be if you sold them matching Amazon, for example? So let's say, even if you made a loss, let's say you made a loss of 10%, that might be better in terms of the time it would take for you to withdraw, upload onto Facebook, go through the time, putting it on the eBay and stuff. It might be just as easy or time-based just to sell for minus 10%, get that money back. I know you've made a loss, but then if you reinvest that money and you make 30% on the next sale, then it starts to correct itself again. So there's a number of different scenarios that I think it's completely up to the individual on what you ultimately want to do, because it's your product. I know for us, I would prefer to take a small loss than bring it back to the warehouse and then pay the girls to list it, put it on Facebook. They might take X amount of time, which I'm now paying the girls to do that. Do you see what I mean? So you gotta weigh that. You gotta weigh that time versus the money, the profit that you're making. Along comes. I have merchant items because can't use FBA. They still sell. That's awesome, Sean. It's great to have you here again. I know Sean. He posted in the Facebook group this week that he'd quit his job. So congratulations to Sean. Taking massive action right there. That's awesome. Need to switch my PC on more and see if I can get unrestricted. Found some good products with fewer sellers, but can't sell them because I'm restricted. That's another conversation to have right here then, Chris, in terms of restrictions. What's been your experience in terms of getting yourself ungated restrictions in your journey so far?
Quite relatively early on, I got ungated in health and personal care, beauty and grocery. And at the time, I was quite lucky because I was able to use Booker's cash and carry. I don't think Amazon accept them anymore, but basically, I managed to just about wangle an account with Booker's, got myself in the door, and I bought like household items that I just needed. I just upped the quantities to satisfy Amazon's criteria. But I managed to do that quite early on. Generally speaking, now, it depends sort of what it is. Is it a product restriction? Like, is it a brand restriction, or is it a category restriction? For brand restrictions, at the moment, I don't really pursue brand restrictions. I think Griffin is one of like the tech type brands. All their stuff is brand restricted. So you've got to either have an authorized distributor or wholesaler for Griffin, or you've got to have a letter off Griffin themselves saying you can sell. I don't pursue that kind of thing. In terms of getting categories and gated, I don't think there's that many left now that I'm not ungated in. I'm ungated in apparel and things like that. It might be watches and jewelry, maybe one I'm not ungated in. But most of them now I am ungated in.
Yeah, I think you've taken action very early, trying to get yourself unrestricted as much as you possibly can. And I think it's one of those things where times change, right? So back in 2015, when I got myself ungated in groceries, for example, Amazon back then, they accepted a receipt. That was it. I literally just sent in a receipt and they accepted it. They got ungated. Obviously, that doesn't happen anymore. So, I mean, my recommendation is, obviously, I would work to get yourself ungated as much as possible. I think age of an account plays a big factor in terms of automated unrestrictions. So there's been many scenarios over I guess the last 12 months to 18 months or so where a particular item has said that we've been gated in, and then you go through the ungating process and they'll just approve you. Like I've had brands like that, I've had categories like that, and I can only assume that that's got something to do with age of account and I guess the overall health of an account. If you've got sort of like some history, like you've been grandfathered in or something. Having said that, I do think in terms of gating, I think a lot of things happen in the US prior to here, which means, you know, it's one of those, we're lucky really, because if there's something significant happens in the US, it will give us a bit of a heads up. Is this something that could potentially come to us? But I think to cut a long story short, I think really the goal is to get yourself ungated as quickly as possible across as many categories as possible, simply because you never know when you might pursue that. So like apparel, for example, if you don't sell that right now, but you can get yourself auto ungated, then you may as well just get that on your account. You might as well just get that ungated. You know,
fact,
even if
I think, Kev, I think apparel might be an auto ungated category. So it might.
That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. I'm like, for that, I think it's auto ungated now, but that might not be the case in 6 months' time. So if that's the case now, I would just get myself ungated as many categories as possible. One of the things that I try to recommend is just try to add as many different products in different categories as you can. Really, just go through the process of just adding stuff, and then it'll tell whether you're going to sell it or not. It'll just tell you then what your status is, and at least it gives you a bit of an indication. Then, oh, I'm gated here, or oh, I've got that auto approved. So if in the future they can't, I don't think that they can go back and unrestrict you again or restrict you again. I've never heard that. I've never seen that happen. So if you can get ungated now, definitely take action on that for sure. Wow, time flies, Chris. Time flies. We've had it's been over 50 minutes already. So I guess it'd be a great opportunity, Chris, just to share a little bit more about you. Then I know people maybe come in a little bit late. You know, where's Chris right? What's the future Chris doing? Because I want all you guys that are in the chat, please go on over to Chris's YouTube channel. Make sure that you follow him, subscribe to him, check out his Facebook group and all the rest of it. And he's got a great community that he's building. And Chris will share a bit more right now.
So like I said, I am building a community at the moment. Arbitrage Superstars. It's basically a Facebook group and a YouTube channel. And basically, it's talking about everything to do with Amazon, really. You know, from the beginning to on that channel, there's a beginner's course on there, and I generally just share my experience basically with the group and on the channel. Just everyday things like, you know, getting negative feedback removed from your Amazon seller account. Just anything, you know, with prices, what are prices, just everyday general things really. Like I said, I've got, you know, 3 coming up for before 4 years this year, 4 years worth of experience selling on Amazon. And you know, like I said, I much like you, Kev, I was there when there were no tools. You know, it was all copy and paste and hours of searching to find the product. And like I said, you know.
Yeah, and I've got to say, Chris, like, you know, what you've been doing and sharing some really valuable insights. It's fantastic. I'm a part of the group. I'm inside the Arbitrage Superstars. What I'll do is I'll get Chris to send me the links to all of his like the group, the YouTube channel and things, and I'll put it on underneath this YouTube channel, this description at some point. So then you can subscribe to him. You can catch back up with Chris, and you can check him out. But one thing that I just wanted to say out on the show is I really do appreciate you coming on this evening, Chris. I know, and I know Andy's out in South Africa loving life. I don't know whether you've been checking out his Insta stories, but he's out there loving life. And it was just great for me to be able to approach Chris and ask him whether he's interested in coming on. He's a part of the Reseller Show community. He's one of us. So it's great to have you on, Chris. So from myself and Andy, I appreciate it.
I appreciate you asking me, Kev. I was honoured to come on. It's been a great experience, and I've had some big boots to fill tonight. But I think we've done all right.
Wow, you've done brilliantly. Absolutely, you're natural. Yeah, you've done brilliantly. But one thing that I wanted to share with you guys that are in the chat as well, talking of Instagram, today the girls in the warehouse, they came up with the idea of why don't they create the prep service Instagram account. So I've unleashed the girls on Instagram. So they're now like behind the scenes photos and stories, and they've gone mad. So if you're interested in seeing what the girls are up to in the warehouse all the time, you can just find them on Instagram now. I'll put a link in the description, but just search for FBA Prep Service UK on Instagram, and you'll see it's literally a brand new account. You'll see Kylie, Amber, and Siobhan on there. Now that they've got the social media in the warehouse, they're like this all the time, just like stories everywhere. So I will definitely be checking the KPIs to make sure those numbers are still up. But yeah, I just wanted to. I thought I'd mention that to you guys. If you are interested in seeing a bit behind the scenes at the warehouse, you can do. But yeah, I guess. Has anybody got any other questions that you want us to touch on? Andy's hat, discuss. Have you seen Andy's hat on Instagram, Chris?
I haven't. No, I haven't seen that.
You should. You should see it. Let me see. 1 second. Discuss Andy's hat. I mean, you can tell he's out in Africa. He's just living the dream. Living the dream. There he is. Look. Let me see if I can.
Oh.
So, Andy, if you're watching this back, Andy, we're going to discuss the hat. Yeah, I mean, he's living the dream out in South Africa. Fantastic. But yeah, we're approaching the hour here, guys. So if you are here right now and you're watching, please do us a favor and just hit that like button. We'd really appreciate it. It would obviously support the channel. Any like hits that you get, that we get, it supports the video and reaches more people. And of course, the more people it reaches, the more it reaches for Chris as well, and it has just a knock-on effect for our community. So I just wanted to just to say thank you very much to everybody that joined this evening. I think we touched on quite a number of topics there, Chris.
Yeah, it's been a good show.
Yeah, it's been a great show. But I'm really looking forward to next week's show. I've got another guest lined up for next week. I want to thank you so much, Chris, once again for coming in. Been an absolute superstar. So I wish you all a very, very massive action-taking week wherever you are, whatever you're doing. Make sure you just take one day at a time and just keep taking action and progressing forward. And we're going to be back here next week, the same time as always, Mondays at 7. So thanks very much, guys. Have a great evening, and I'll see you guys very, very soon.